In this grammar class, we shall study the lesson verbs. Make it sure that you listen to the explanation carefully. That will make your concepts clear. Let's begin. Look at the definition. A verb is a word that tells or asserts something about a person or thing. Basically, like the engine of a car, it makes the sentence more by telling us what the subject is doing. I am stressing on the word doing as verbs tell the action of the subject. For example, Zidane kicked the ball into the goal. Here Zidane is performing the action of kicking the ball. So verb here in the sentence would be kicked. A verb can also denote the condition or quality of the subject. This statement would be more clear when we see the examples. The market was very crowded. Anjana is a doctor. In the first example, we can see the condition it is showing was very crowded. In the second example, it denotes the quality of the subject, that Anjana is a doctor. Finally, it can express possession on the part of the subject. For example, every school child has a satchel. It is showing possession, that all children have a satchel or bag. In the second example, do you have some spare time? In this sentence, a person is asked if he has some spare time. The verb is a very complex part of speech. As I told you in the beginning, verbs are complex part of speech. It has tenses, aspects, moods, and voices. In grammar, as we move further and study tenses, aspects, moods, and voices, we will find that our basic knowledge of verbs will be very helpful. Verbs can be transitive or intransitive, weak or strong, finite or infinite, auxiliary or modal. In sentences, often we find that a verb consists of more than one word. For example, the girls were singing. I have learned my lesson. The watch has been found. In all the above sentences, the verb consists of more than one word. Like in sentence number 1, were singing. Sentence 2, have learnt. Sentence 3, has been are verbs. Now we shall discuss the transitive, intransitive, and auxiliary verbs. A complete sentence must have a verb and a subject. There are some verbs that act as on an object, which can be a noun, pronoun, or phrase. Let us first see transitive verb. Look at the definition. A transitive verb is a verb that denotes an action which passes over from the doer or the subject to an object. Now in this we see transitive verbs are the verbs that denote an action. That much I'm sure is clear. Now the action passes over. I state it again. The action passes over from the doer. The doer is the subject. From the subject to the object. Let us see the examples. Isha is the subject in the first sentence. Song is the object. And verb is sings. From the subject, the action is being passed over to the object, that is song. In the second sentence, Mohit is the subject, kite is the object, and the verb is flying. From the subject Mohit, the action is being passed over to the object, the kite. What is the action? It is in the verb flying. In the third sentence, the boy is the subject, football is object. What action is being passed from the subject to the object? It is kicks. So we see in all the three examples now the action passes over from the subject to the object in transitive verbs. In intransitive verbs, see the definition first. An intransitive verb is a verb that denotes an action which does not pass over to an object or which expresses a state or being. Now, in this kind of verb, the verb that denotes an action does not pass over to an object. Note that the action in intransitive verb does not pass to an object, or in these verbs it expresses a state or being. Look at the examples. Birds fly. Rishabh runs. The baby sleeps. Radha is dancing. He ran a long distance. In all the above sentences, the action does not pass from the subject to the object. Hence, the usage of the verb is done intransitively. Verbs are intransitive verbs in all these cases. There are certain things we must remember. Most transitive verbs take a single object, but such transitive verbs as give, ask, offer, promise, tell, etc. take two objects. They are the direct object and the indirect object. An indirect object which denotes the person to whom something is given or for whom something is done, and a direct object which is usually the name of something. Look at the examples. His father gave him a watch. He told me a secret. The principal gave the children a lecture. Mr. Raj will teach you some magic tricks. In all the above sentences, there is a direct object and an indirect object. Let's discuss more about the transitive and intransitive verbs. Most verbs can be used both as transitive and as intransitive verbs. The word will be a verb, but it can be used transitively or intransitively. See the examples. First, the usage of verbs transitively. The driver stopped the train. The horse kicked the man. The shot sank the ship. Now see the usage of the same verbs intransitively. The train stopped suddenly. The horse never kicks. The ship sank rapidly. Lastly, we shall discuss the auxiliary verbs or the helping verbs. See the definition. An auxiliary verb is a helping verb. It helps to form the tense or mood of the main verb. Look at the examples. The girls are dancing. I shall certainly come with you. You can watch television. Raj is drinking water. In the sentences above, are, shall, can, is, are all helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. They help the principal verbs. Remember, the chief auxiliary verbs are is, am, are, was, were, been, have, has, had, shall, will, should, would, do, does, did, may, might, must, can, and could. With this, we come to the end of today's session. I hope you all have understood the lesson verbs. Believe me, students, if your concepts of verbs are clear, it will help you a lot to understand future concepts.